So the other day, Bernie Sanders' campaign posted this on Twitter.
I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. Him as a human being, when I was hanging out with him, and I believe in him. I like him a lot. What Bernie stands for is a guy who, well, look, you could dig up dirt on every single human being that's ever existed if you catch them in their worst moment, and you magnify those moments, and you cut out everything else, and you only display those worst moments. That said, you can't find very many with Bernie. He's been insanely consistent his entire life. He's basically been saying the same thing, been for the same thing his whole life. And that, in and of itself, is a very powerful structure to operate from.
So I was about to do this video on Shoe on Head, but I'm working on a different one on Shoe on Head. I will be recording that soon. And that's gonna go up, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, this one can go on Brainlit, I guess. So we're doing it here. Fuck it! We're doing it live. Joe Rogan half-assedly endorsed Bernie, said a bunch of nice things about him, and Bernie's campaign, or Bernie, thought it was neat. Bernie has been on Joe Rogan's show before. In fact, it's one of my favorite episodes, and I highly suggest you guys check it out, especially if you're somebody who's, like, not really into Bernie or hasn't really looked into him that much. Check out that interview. It's really good. It has like 12 million views now, and all the top comments are from people that are just like, wow, I've never actually listened to Bernie speak. He's actually kind of cool. Like, wow, I thought this guy was crazy, but he actually makes a lot of sense. Blah, blah, blah. Really cool, really white pilling. We love to see it. I actually did a video a few months ago laughing at all the people who were butthurt about Bernie going on the Joe Rogan show. So basically this video is going to be laughing at people who are butthurt about Rogan endorsing Bernie. Now you'd think, right? You would think that one of the most famous talk show podcast people in the world endorsing Bernie Sanders for president, and he also said he liked Tulsi Gabbard, to his audience of like 7 million people, his audience that, like mine, is pretty mixed, you'd think that would be great. You think, right? Wrong! The entire internet was just on fire for like 3 days straight. Every goddamn checkmark and their mothers crawled out of the woods and just took a big fat dump on my timeline. So we are going to look at some of this mad, and we are going to talk about the mad. So we have Jody here, who says, "Dear Bernie Sanders, please reject the endorsement of this man. It is beneath all of us. It is not okay to be celebrating an endorsement from him." And then they have some relatively tame take from Joe from like 2012, where he talks about how they censored the Confederate flag on the Dukes of Hazzard and he thinks it's stupid. Really? So it's really important to note that this woman is a Warren supporter. "Every campaign makes mistakes. Good people make mistakes. This is one. Please denounce this and take down the video. Transphobic, racist, sexist, white nationalist, xenophobic endorsements should not be accepted. Never mind celebrated by leaders of progressive movements. Please." It's been 7 hours. Why is this tweet still up? Every moment it's up, our LGBTQ friends feel unsafe. I set a timer to comment on this post every hour until it is removed. Then she finds a tweet from Joe Rogan from 2012 where he says, "Call me romantic, but I love when gay guys on a date are comfortable enough to kiss in public." I don't see a problem with it. That's like celebrating gay people. In 2012, that's like earlier than Hillary supported gay people. And this woman goes, "In the Democratic Party, we don't fetishize LGBTQ folks when they show affection in a public place. It is not for your pleasure. Bernie Sanders, delete this tweet and renounce Joe Rogan's endorsement." This absolute Stretch Armstrong of a reach, digging all the way to 2012, and this is what you find? Him saying he likes when gay people are comfortable enough to show affection in public? If he's such a racist, sexist, xenophobic, white nationalist, you should be able to find much more than that. I love when people do that too, and they're like, "They're racist, sexist, homophobic," and you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And they have like 2 tweets in the span of like 10 years. These people are nuts. This is terminal online illness. Wow, this awful tweet has now been up for 10 hours. I'm going to bed now, but we'll still be checking every hour to see if this tweet is still here. I hope Bernie Sanders takes it down and renounces Joe Rogan's endorsement ASAP so we can all sleep soundly tonight. This woman is staying up 24 hours with a fucking timer on her phone. It is 3:30 a.m. here in Las Vegas, but people are starting to wake up on the East Coast, and I can't believe this tweet might be one of the first things they see to start their day. It should not have ever seen the light of another day, but here we are. Bernie Sanders, delete the tweet. Gay rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. I do not find human rights to be debatable. We do not need to have a conversation with Joe Rogan or people who think like him. In the Democratic Party, we fight for human rights, not elevate people who harm LGBTQ folk. Lot to unpack here. Let's go. So this person is neurotic. But not only are they neurotic, they are concern trolling to the extreme. This is the definition of performative outrage. Because, forgot to mention, pretty important fact here, she's a Warren supporter. She's not even a Bernie supporter. In fact, most of her timeline before this performative outrage circus is shitting on Bernie, is calling him a sexist because of the Elizabeth Warren thing. This is concern trolling. She doesn't give a shit. But, more importantly, we do not need to have a conversation with Joe Rogan or people who think like him. We don't? What the fuck is what's activism? What's the point of being left wing? Don't you want more people coming to the left? Don't you want more people voting for progressive candidates like Bernie Sanders? Why wouldn't we need to have a conversation with people like Joe Rogan, who, by the way, is already very left-wing, and also people like him? This automatic assumption that Joe Rogan's entire audience is like made up of Nazis is a reoccurring theme here. Like, I'm sure there's right-wing people in his audience, but we shouldn't talk to them. We shouldn't try to have a conversation with them and talk to them about Bernie and policies and issues and stuff like that. Why not? Wrapping up the incel vote, woohoo. So, even if this was true, even if the 7 million people subscribed to Rogan, even if the 7 million people subscribed to Rogan were all incels, why does it matter? Bernie Sanders accepting an endorsement from Joe Rogan is serious enough to make me reconsider supporting him in the primary. Rogan is a transphobic ass. Transphobia kills. This is a huge fucking deal to me. 1,000 retweets, 4,000 likes. Bernie Sanders has the most comprehensive LGBTQ plan. He wants Medicare for all, for everybody, including trans people. Remember when fucking they asked him, what are you gonna do for trans people? And he's like, oh, we have Medicare for all. That includes trans people. And fucking Warren was like, I will personally read the names of the dead. Who else are you gonna vote for? Who's the better option in this case? Just like voting on identity base, this is unironically a privileged position to be able to just be like, oh yeah, I don't want to vote for the most progressive candidate in the race because somebody who isn't him likes him. I volunteered for your campaign in 2016 because I was inspired by your vision of the future. Even though Warren is my girl for 2020, just like all these people, you were always a close number 2, no longer. Here's everyone's favorite checkmark, Neera Tanden. The same argument applies to Tucker Carlson. Everyone cool with accepting his endorsement? Yes. If Tucker Carlson votes for Bernie Sanders, that is one more vote for Bernie Sanders. If Tucker Carlson goes on Fox News and endorses Bernie Sanders to his audience, that's more votes for Bernie Sanders. I don't understand what these people think an election is. I really don't. People should be honest. They think the ends justify the means. But that doesn't sound very progressive when they've been lecturing everyone on purity for years. They think the ends justify the means? The means here being endorsing the most progressive candidate to an audience of 7 million people. The ends here being that progressive candidate winning the election. Can't find the issue. Hillary must be quiet. Joe Rogan must be boosted. It's like a seminar on the role of gender in US politics. Weed man bad because bad opinions. Warmonger good because woman. Here's a hot take from everyone's favorite Karen Summers. When you bring bigots into your base, it becomes a hostile space to those versus whom the bigotry is directed. What good will it be to get your revolution but forfeit your progressive values? A white supremacist patriarchal revolution is suppression under a different economic system. So we all know Karen Summers doesn't even like Bernie. Again, this is concern trolling. This is performative outrage. But this is just funny. When you bring bigots into your... it becomes a hostile space. What the fuck are you talking... what space? They're going into the voting booth and fucking voting. What space? What good will it be to get your revolution but forfeit your progressive values? I just need to know, when and where did Bernie forfeit his progressive values? Bernie campaign. Not me, us. Trans people. Us, Bernie. Not you. Muslim people. Us, Bernie. Well, not you either. Black people. What about us? Bernie. That's a hard no. Incels and gamergaters. Us, Bernie. That's a Texas size 10-4. What? Where? Why does this have so many likes? When I am president, there will be gulags for check marks. At this point, there's only one conclusion you can draw. Joe Rogan's racism, hateful transphobia, and open misogyny and disgusting Islamophobia is a feature to Bernie Sanders' personality, not a bug. It's 3 days in, the senator has been silent. So this check mark is agreeing with the other check mark. It's just a check mark circle jerk going on here. And agrees that Bernie Sanders should be canceled, but also Andrew Yang. So here's Carlos Maza, who, by the way, follows me, which gives me a great deal of anxiety. Bernie's campaign cutting a campaign ad with Joe Rogan fucking sucks. Rogan is an incredibly influential bigot, and Democrats should be marginalizing him. When these people see polls, like let's say they look at the Iowa polls, right, that are coming out where Bernie's in the lead, when they look at that percentage, are they like, ah yes, everyone within that percentage agrees with me 100% and they are super woke and super pure? The working class, the poor, the people that you are fighting for aren't ideologically pure. I don't, like, in these people, in their perfect world, there would be, like, armed guards standing outside the voting booth, and before you get in, you have to give them your Twitter... oh, sorry. And before you get in, you have to give them your Twitter name, and the guards, like, dig through your history of tweets. They'll just be like, oh, sorry, ma'am, you said shitting dick nipples 5 years ago. I'm actually becoming increasingly worried that these people aren't aware that the welfare and healthcare and all these social programs they advocate for will also help the bad people. And also this, like, weird thing where they mix up their, like, social friend group with, like, politics. They do it all the fucking time. There are so many tweets where it's like, oh no, like, this is bad for our spaces. Like, I don't understand. Twitter's public. What do you think they're gonna come into your Discord chat rooms? I honestly, truly don't understand. And I've actually gotten this same exact criticism where people are complaining that now I'm talking about Bernie and electoral politics, I'm talking about, like, regular politics and stuff like that, and not just culture war stuff. I've seen people like, oh yeah, she's gonna bring her Nazi fan base into our spaces. What? Let me get this straight. For years now, we have been hearing about the alt-right pipeline. There have been several studies about the alt-right pipeline and how channels like Chris Rogan will bring people to the alt-right. And I've been called an alt-right pipeline, and Joe Rogan has been called an alt-right pipeline. But as soon as we start advocating for actual progressive candidates, for actual policies that will help people and actually, like, change the country, all of a sudden, the bigots are coming into our spaces. Which one is it? Do you want to grow the left? Or do you want your super secret exclusive best friend Twitter club? What do you want? What is activism to you? What is politics to you? In my survey that I read a few weeks ago, one of the questions was, what have I changed your mind on? And I swear to God, thousands and thousands of people answered Bernie Sanders. I like Bernie Sanders now. Bernardo Sanderson. You made me more left-wing. Hundreds and thousands of people saying that. So the left-wing pipeline that we are opening up, that me and Joe Rogan are opening up, is bad too? Help me out here, because I'm lost. We are constantly hearing from all these like Democrat donuts how important unity is and how much we need a candidate that will bring all sides together and will get people from across the aisle and will unite the country. Constantly hearing it from Kamala, Klobuchar, Joe Biden, everyone. Oh, we can bring over independents. Oh, we can bring over conservatives. And the second Joe Rogan tries to do that, the check marks and the Warren supporters go rabid. And you know what I think? I think some of these Warren supporters are jealous. Straight up, I think they're jealous because apparently, according to Joe Rogan himself, Warren asked to be on the show and Rogan denied it. So in an alternate dimension where Joe said yes and Warren went on the show and then Warren made a campaign, and these people would be celebrating it. They would be all over it. They would be saying, wow, it's crazy how Warren can unite people from all sides. There's also the extremely hot take that Bernie bros are Gamergate 2.0. There's like a million tweets about Gamergate, Bernie bros are Gamergate. By the way, I didn't make this. That's Sargon crying. Because apparently he wanted to revamp Gamergate 2.0, but now Gamergate 2.0 is Bernie bros. Gamergate's back, guys, and this time they want to give you healthcare and stop forever wars. Spooky shit, man. Watch out. So yeah, this is just the dumbest thing ever. I was going to make it a big scripted video, but then I was like, no, just throw it on Brainlet, just rant, just scream, just go off. So I went off. I am left-wing. I consider myself left-wing. My channel is a left-wing space. You are invited in my left-wing space. Hello, this is home. You are all my guests to my little house, my little left-wing space. You are allowed here. We are allowed to talk about issues. You are allowed to ask questions and learn more shit and talk to people in the comments about shit. We are allowed to fight and disagree because that's what building a coalition is. Bernie's whole thing is like, oh, we have to build a coalition of black people, white people, brown people, gay people, straight people. Gamers rise up, basically. You want these, like, bigots to stay in their little echo chamber, and you want to stay in your little echo chamber. And I don't understand how that's helpful at all, especially during an election. So, the good news is Bernie did not back down from this endorsement. Thank the Lord. The goal of our campaign is to build a multiracial, multi-generational movement that is large enough to defeat Donald Trump and the powerful special interests whose greed and corruption is the root cause of the outrageous inequality in America. Sharing a big tent requires including those who do not share every one of our beliefs, while always making clear that we will never compromise on our values. The truth is that by standing together in solidarity, we share the values of love and respect that will move us in the direction of a more humane, more equal world. Sharing a big tent requires including those who do not share every one of our beliefs. I always joke about, like, vote for Bernie to own the libs, but it just gets more clear every day that that's actually a real thing. So yeah, that was that. It is like 3 a.m. and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And I will see you guys hopefully with a shoe on head video next. I have something highly requested in the works. So yeah, just had to get this out there. Bye.